Hi everyone, I'm Reggie Whitley. Thanks so much for joining me on the Open Vault podcast. Hopefully, you'll hear something that'll inspire you, empower you, enlighten you, or just make your day a little better. Since you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and or follow, depending on the platform that you're tuning in on. And feel free to share this podcast onto your social media pages and with your friends and loved ones. Welcome to the Open Vault Podcast, Season 1, Episode 3. Today's podcast is a pretty special one because we have with us our very first guest. Joining us today will be Zoë Davis. She is a wife, a mother, a serial entrepreneur, and a motivational speaker. And she's joining us to talk about past relationship hurts, dealing with them, healing from them, and moving on. So we're excited. Let's join in. Okay, so again, I'm here with Zoë Davis. And so, Zoe, how I want to start off this interview is just a one for one or a word for word. So I'm just going to say a word. First thing that comes to your mind, I just want you to just say it or explain it. It can be just one word, it can be an explanation. You don't have to explain if you don't want to. So the first word is loyalty.
The first word that comes to my mind when I hear loyalty is rare.
Oh, that's
um,
good.
it is such a rare thing. Loyalty for me, basically means not necessarily commitment, but just kind of like because you can be committed depending on the situation. You can be committed and not loyal in a sense, and you can be loyal and not be committed. Like in my opinion. So loyal means basically you're 100% in forever or for the longevity of that particular, relationship, whether it's business or personal or, whatever. Family, of course, forever. Covenant marriages should be forever. But that's something that's very rare. So
Good. Commitment.
hope I ain't go too deep.
No, you didn't. You didn't. But
Okay.
out of that, I got commitment. So commitment, number two.
Commitment to me basically means that, you know, I am for you. No matter what we're going through, no matter, what comes against us, no matter how hard it is, I'm for you. And my level of commitment is not going to change based on any circumstances. Commitment to me means that in a relationship, if I'm committed to you, nobody else can enter into, the relationship that we have. And um, another thing that's very very rare as well, but um speaking as I guess in a business sense as well, when you're committed to something or you're committed to a particular goal, that means that you don't stop, you don't take breaks, you don't take a pause, like you're just 100% all in. No, what they say, all gas no brakes, like nothing can come in between it ever, like, and you're not gonna put it or whatever relationship it is, you're not going to put it in jeopardy for anything that um, may break that commitment. Business, family, friends, marriage, whatever.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. It's funny because the first thing that comes to mind when I hear forgiveness is John 3:16. For those that may not know John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son so that we may have everlasting life. And even though there's not that word forgiveness in there, that for me, when I think forgiveness, is the instant relation to, my salvation. So,
Rejected.
whew. Kids.
Hmm.
And I know that's probably strange, huh? um,
Explain.
when I hear rejected, I think kids because a lot of kids grow up rejected by their fathers, by their mothers, by family members, even by teachers, by cousins, and a lot of us as grown people now are still dealing with the residue of rejection from relationships, um, Matter of fact, I think that a lot of bad relationship cycles have that residue of rejection. And I'm going to speak personally, if I can. So my dad died when I was 5. And of course, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean to die, right? But because I felt rejected, I felt like a fatherless child. And growing up, for years, when I got into relationships, I always felt like any man that claimed that they loved me or was supposed to love me was going to leave me. It was always a residue and a mindset that I was going to be rejected. And by default, I pretty much manifested that in a lot of relationships until I had to do a lot of inner healing, to realize, that was really why I saw the same cycle over and over again in myself. And so when I say kids, I think that a lot of the issues that we deal with as adults, stems from being rejected as a child.
Love.
My husband. um, I just, and it's not necessarily because he's my husband, but because he is the epitome of love. Now he ain't soft by a long shot, but he is the epitome of family and loving people unconditionally. Even if he don't really fool with you, because he'll cut you off. But even if he doesn't fool with you, he still prays for you. He still, is willing to, if you need him, he's gonna be there. He's the epitome of forgiveness, for me when it comes to family relations and different things like that. So he's been a wonderful display in my life as far as how a man should love his wife and how a man should love his family, and not just like his wife and kids, but just family overall and people overall. So he genuinely has a love for family and a love for people, and with that love comes with a ton of forgiveness. And I've never really seen that displayed before in a relationship. So
Safety.
my gun. I was just, you said the first thing that
The
comes to
first
mind,
thing that
right?
comes to mind. That's the first thing.
That was the first thing that came to mind, like my gun. Um, and ultimately, I know that doesn't bring me I mean, I don't put my trust in the gun, but ultimately, like, I believe in angels, I believe in supernatural um, pro, protection, but that's the first thing that came to my gun, because you know,
Makes sense. Heartbreak.
heartbreak.
Mhm.
I'm kind of blank there.
Hmm.
A ex came to mind, like his name, and I don't love covers, so I won't put that out there. But I guess for me, when I think of heartbreak, it's associated with past relationships.
Okay. Wisdom.
Proverbs off top. Um, Not only just because it's deemed the book of wisdom, but I guess because it's been etched, in my psyche or my spirit so much that I don't feel like you can have wisdom without the word. And Proverbs is not the only book of wisdom. It has a lot of wisdom in it, but to me, the entire Bible has wisdom. And so, um, to me, that's a spiritual thing. I don't think that there's anything natural, um, that could give you, even in old age. They say that when people are older, they're wiser. Not from the older generation that I've seen. So I don't think that even old age always gives you wisdom. Maybe experience, but not necessarily wisdom. So I believe that wisdom ultimately comes from the Holy Spirit.
And last one is friendship.
Friendship. The first thing that comes to mind for me is that's something I really, I guess I can say I can't relate to, and it's gonna sound strange, but um, for me, I'm such a 100%. You know how they used to say 0 to 100. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's like we either 0 or 100. So I feel like if you're at 100 with me, you're family. Like I'm not gonna call you friend. If you're not at that point with me, I'm just gonna respect you as a person, and you're definitely not gonna be called my friend. So I have a weird experience when it comes to friendships. Um, it's crazy. I'm not solo because I have a lot of people that I know I can call on, but those people I wouldn't call friends. I would call them my sisters. Um, so it's that's kind of like a blank for me. I don't. The only person I guess I could say for me when I think friendship is my husband again. Um, but he's my husband. I think he's supposed to be my friend. So,
Hopefully.
but for overall, the word friendship is like a blank for me because
Okay.
I don't really dwell in that.
Okay. Well, I think that was good. I like those answers. So tell us in the best way you can, who is Zoe Davis?
Zoe Davis. Zoe is actually a brand name, a spiritual name, a ministry name. So Zoe represents life. My legal name is Donna, which means lady, and I like Donna. But over the years, Donna Donna has a lot of baggage. Donna has a lot of um, Donna was something serious. Donna was something serious. Donna was, depending on the person, very cutthroat, very um, promiscuous sometimes, depending on the season, very back and forth, um, just unstable mentally, just like a lot of baggage, like probably the typical woman who has not, experienced healing and, has not been renewed. Zoe represents life. When I had my experience with the Holy Spirit, and that played a big part in who Zoe is. But when I had that experience, that was the name that I was given, Zoe. And it was kind of like, God was telling me, I'm going to restore you, to life. And now you're going to be a giver of that life. So Zoe to me represents and reminds me to always be life giving, always be life giving. And it keeps me in check. It keeps me in line because when when Donna wants to come back up, and it's not like an alter ego thing, because I believe that that's kind of demonic. It's kind of like a flesh. Like Donna is the flesh, and the flesh has to stay dead. Zoe is life, and I have a responsibility to make sure that Donna stays dead and Zoe lives, and that's only by the power of the Holy Spirit. And so I know it's a struggle for some people, because, if you know me as Donna, you probably, and you don't know why I go by Zoe, you probably like, I'm gonna call her Donna, because that's what the mama call her. But it's deeper than that. And I don't take offense. I do not take offense. I'm not that out there, But if you understood the origin, I think, you would respect it a little bit more, and know that, I'm not just going nuts. So everything that I have in this season since 2017 has been Zoe. Zoe D, which is, I'm trying to, I guess, show Zoe D. The D stands for Davis. And At the time when God gave me this name, I was not married. My last name was not Davis. And when I inquired about my new blog, because I had to start a new blog, I had to start literally my life over. My books, I had to start over. My blogs, I had to start over. My speaking, I had to literally start my entire life over under Zoe. And so when God gave me my blog name, the name of my blog is Zoe D Speaks. And I was like, I knew what Zoe meant, but I didn't understand the D. And I was like, well, maybe, it's for, my name is Donna. So maybe he's bringing back that D from Donna. And he said, Davis. And we didn't get married to like the next year. So, of course, I'm like, we weren't even talking about marriage, like at all. Like, I brought it up, and brother was like, yeah, we'll get there. So, that was definitely prophetic all in its own. Yeah. So Zoe represents life. Zoe Davis, Zoe D represents life.
I love it. So, since we're talking about moving on from, in case you didn't know who's watching, we're talking about moving on from relationships, past relationships, being hurt, not only like relationships as far as husbands, wives, or spouse, or boyfriend, girlfriend, but also friendships, um, even business relationships, all of that, because Donna really does have so much information about relationships and ties to people. And so, since we're talking about that, tell us about your relationships. What we know, we've heard that you don't have what typical people will call friends. You have family. We heard that you have a husband. So, tell us about more about your relationships. What does relationships look like for Zoe Davis?
Starts, of course, with in my home. My husband and I have a very unique relationship, and I think that it's really because of the type of people we are spiritually. Um, a lot of people would think that we've literally only been together 4 years, but since the time that we met, like we've been inseparable, and we've worked together, we've done projects together. Like we have a really good um, work relationship when I'm not in my feelings. uh, when I'm not in my feelings, and when it's when I can clearly separate the business from the personal, emotionally, and that's not often, because he's very, like I said, he has a I don't know how to explain it. He's not like aggressive, but he is aggressive, but he's fair, and he's taught me a lot in interacting with people. I guess I could say that. With my children or with our children, um, we just try to really impart into them the things that we didn't learn, whether that's from school, from life. We share a lot of our own life, stories with them. We're very transparent, and so overall, all of my relationships, I prefer transparency, and I prefer people to know that if you have Zoe Davis in your corner, Zoe Davis is committed to you.
Can you say that again? Your sound went out. Can you repeat yourself?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Some
I
people
was just
need that
saying,
every day.
yeah, that everyday confirmation, that every day, and I'm working on that, because I feel like with family it should be like that, but um, I just don't, like, I cannot talk to you for so long and see you and be like, oh, hey, what's up, what's going on, this we catch up and we're good, and we may talk 2-3 hours to make up for the time, but it's no ill, it's no ill, and I feel like when people have relationships with me, I feel like I provide that sense of security if you know my heart. Now, some people um, that need that every day, check in, or well, I ain't heard from you, so you must be mad at me type thing. I think that that's so elementary. Um, life is life, and I'm sorry, just on the strength of a day when I work up, I'm juggling businesses, I'm juggling homeschooling kids, I'm juggling being a wife. So if you don't fit within 10, 15, 20, an hour, 2 hours of that time, I don't feel like you should take offense to that. I just feel like you probably need something to do yourself. you know, um, go occupy your time. But relationships for me, in house is good. With a lot of my spiritual family is good. With a lot of my natural family, I'm transparent enough to say it's not where I would want it to be. But again, I think that comes from years and years of little things that are probably still just not healed and let go of. And I value relationships, I value people, but I have learned to protect my energy. And everybody is not good. And when I say energy, I'm talking about literal energy, like my attitude, my aura. You know what I'm saying? Um, my mindset. You have people. I have people that I love, but they're negative, and I'm not a negative person. So protect that energy. Even though we may have a relationship as a family member, I gotta love on you,
Right.
and I gotta try to impart the positivity in you by my aura, but I can't allow myself to constantly be in contact with you because of your aura. Yeah, does that make sense?
That makes
Like,
sense.
yeah. So
There's a
that's
quote
that's
that
how I
made me
am when
think of, if I can interrupt you, that made me think of this
Mhm.
quote. And it says something about take responsibility for the energy that you bring into this space. And so you just said not only do other people have to take responsibility, but you yourself have to take responsibility of
Yes.
the energy that you allow to come into your space. So I think that's really good
Yes. Yeah.
because a
All the
lot of
time.
people
And
don't
I've
do that.
learned that. I've learned that. I can't say that that has been like an automatic response for me, but I've learned that like you really have to control your energy, because the thing about it is life is going to be life. Everybody is not raised as you. Everybody is not following the same path as you. Um, Everybody does not have the same attitudes as you when it comes to certain things. Some people are just wholeheartedly just negative and draining. And I've learned to love people and accept them, accept them for who they are, while loving them enough to give to them as much as I can, but loving myself enough to not allow them to infect me, you
So I
know.
have a question.
Um,
How did you get to the point where you got? How did you get to the point of loving yourself to that degree? Because so many people there, I call them people pleasers, and I don't like people pleasers. And they try to please everybody, so they put themselves on the back burner. I don't want to do this, but I'll do it to make this person. So I believe that one of the ways to not be a people pleaser is to love yourself. You being seems like you're a pretty good lover of yourself. How did you get to that point? Were you born that way? Was it automatic, or what happened to get you there?
Somewhat. For the most part, I've always been bold. I've always had a pretty bold personality. So along the years, I've never really fit in or tried to be like in a clique, because I think the cliques are like people pleasing. Y'all is certain things never set with me. My biggest struggle was with people pleasing in relationships with men that I was with. But ultimately, I came to this point spiritually, first, but personal development. And by personal development, listening to people like Eric Thomas, listen to a lot of my what I call millionaire mentors. In the businesses that I'm in, I've had the privilege and the honor to be mentored by 6, 7 figure earners who give me um, like just steps to follow, um, and like there's another book, one of my mentors, Rebecca Garrett, she introduced to me um is Interview with the Devil. um but I don't think that's the name of the actual book, but it's subtitles like Interview with the Devil. And in that book it talks a lot about um the devil's focus and his strategies, and it lines up spiritually with the word of God, but the way that it was presented in such a way, and it made me understand anything that's negative, the seed, the root is really the root of the negativity is from the enemy. And so while it's about loving myself, it's also about recognizing you have an evil force and you have a holy force. And I hope I don't sound crazy when I say this, but I mean, for me, it's true. So negativity, and in the book, Interview with the Devil, it's not, but that's not the name of the book. And I know that's not, but it's by Napoleon Hill. And it was written like years ago, like years ago. Hopefully I think of it before we end this podcast, but and it's on YouTube. We listened to an audiobook. I've started a couple of times and finished it. But in it basically zones in that any negative energy is rooted in evil, because you got to think about it. Let's take, for example, these riots. So you got people that are angry, and when all of those angry people come together, you have a lot of angry energy, right? Like it's fused. So all it takes is one little thing to pop off, and is World War III. If a person is trying to come into that energy field, 9 times out of 10, even if they weren't angry before, because that energy of anger is being released from everybody that's there, they're gonna get angry too, you know. And you see this probably like in everyday life. You see this, people, they say birds of a feather flock together. You see one person that's angry and negative, they're gonna be talking to another person that's angry and negative. You know what I'm saying? If I come into the situation and I'm like, oh yeah, but I know that happened, but let's do this, sir. Let's do that, and the sun is still shining. Let's 9 times out of 10, like, it's gonna fall on like dead energy, because that's not the energy that's balanced with them. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn a lot through personal development, through getting myself to a point where when I wake up in a state of, how is this day gonna go? And I start declaring affirmations over my day. I started declaring peace. So I started declaring the word, Psalms 1, Psalms 91. Like I just started declaring how my day is going to go. And all of this is, for me, biblical, because this is what, I believe that the Holy Spirit leads us to do. When Jesus prayed, he said, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So I pray every day, let your kingdom come in my life on earth as it is in heaven. And so I just don't think that people are in heaven sad and, complaining and bored, and what I'm saying? So I try to, when I wake up, zone in on the type of day that I want and command my day to be what it is, so that when that negative energy comes in, even if I have a slight disturbance emotionally, it's like, okay, nope, I gotta block that out and get back into my bubble of peace and joy, because life is good, Right. So while it's about self-love, it's also about commanding the type of life that you want, and if people come into your life that don't line up with the type of life that you're trying to live, you have every right. You have every single right to dismiss them. Every right to dismiss them.
That's really good. A lot of people I know do have that struggle of dismissing, even if they know that the people aren't good for them, aren't good for where they're going. And so one of my things is I try to have purposeful relationships. I'm not going to have any even friends who don't have a purpose. What is the purpose of this relationship? And so a lot of people don't do that. And so they mourn, I guess is the word, when those relationships end, when those friendships end. Can you talk a little about that? Have you experienced that? The struggle of getting over even a negative relationship or friendship.
I have, because you miss the memories. Right. You just miss the memories. And I'm actually kind of in mourning from a long time, because like I said, when I have a friend, like, to me they're family. So a long-term sister of mine, but I've been praying and God has shown me like she was very manipulative and um, God showed her to me in the form of a snake. And I kept trying, and I kept trying, to have this relationship with her. And the last conversation we had, it's like the lies that she told in my face were so bold and so outrageous. And it took me a minute to register it. And I was just like, there's no loyalty here. There's no commitment here. There's no transparency here. There's no, like, I gotta let that go. Because the thing about it is, if I allow you to keep manipulating me and lying to me and, whatever your plan is for me, then I've given you that permission, you know. And I feel like one of the things that people don't want to do, people don't want to be alone. And we see this in romantic relationships as well. You get so used to having the comfort of a person that you accept whatever they give to you. One of my mentors from years back, my millionaire mentors, she used to say, change your friends or change your friends. So in other words, if you are in a situation and there's no growth there with that friendship and you're trying to grow, this is if you're really trying to grow. If you're really trying to grow, your growth should seep over into your friendships. It got to a point I used to hang with a group of people. Um, and this was another morning for me. We used to hang together almost religiously. We talked all the time. And I got to a point where I decided to take some different routes. I just wanted something different. I always said that I wanted to be retired. I wanted to, homeschool. I wanted to be on my own time. And I knew that I would have to make some changes for that. So we used to have get-togethers. And in those get-togethers, I, started saying, well, look, I can't hang out, Friday. I got to write, I'm working on a project, and some took offense to that. Some took offense to my decision to grow beyond getting together, drinking, talking about, the latest gossip in my life or whomever's life. There was it was no growth, and I can see that once every now and then we're getting together, we're letting our hair down, we're, venting or whatever. But that was it. And this was every week. And when I started separating myself, the attitudes changed towards me. But I was working on something that I felt like, as my friends, you should have supported me. As my family, you should have supported what I was working on. And I didn't get that. And so I mourn those relationships because, once again, to me, it's like family. Kids hanging together, us hanging. What I'm saying, there was nothing that I wouldn't have been down for. But I had to recognize that if I didn't change my friends, I had to change my friends. And after that season, I was alone a lot. And a lot of people don't like to be alone. A lot of people don't like to be alone with themselves. And, a lot of people just don't want to change. And you've got the leaders that will lead their lives and lead other people. And then you got the followers that will continue to simply just follow what they're comfortable with. And not saying they're bad or anything is bad in it. It's just about choices. So you've got to decide, there's in the millionaire world, there's a quote that says something to the effect of, you are the average of your 5 friends. The 5 closest people that you hang with. If you want to know how your next 10 years are going to look like, look at the 5 people that you're hanging around. And when I took an evaluation of that, that's not what I wanted. I wanted independency. I wanted to grow. I wanted, there were certain things that I wanted for my life. I didn't, I'm the type of person, you can't even talk to me about what you can't afford. Because I'm going to be like, okay, how can we afford it? I don't want to hear, certain kind of talk, certain kind of lingo. You just can't you can't talk around me. So I had to change my friends because I couldn't change my friends. I couldn't influence them to see, hey, we could be doing something completely different. Matter of fact, the vision that my husband and I are working on right now is a vision that in our getting together and our talking, we talked about it. And I said, well, let's do it. And everybody's like, yeah, that would be good.
Right.
And it was like, that was it. And my husband and I, like, we've been making plays for the last couple of years. And by the end of this year, like, we'll officially have launched that vision from 5 years ago with just friends that felt like it was a good conversation. So I say all that to say you got to mourn. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you're by yourself, that's cool. Um,
Can we press into
but
that before you move on? Can we press into that being uncomfortable? Because I know a lot of people,
yeah,
they have such a struggle with, they will say, I've been friends with this person since the
yeah,
fifth grade. I've been
yeah,
friends with this person since high school. And they'll know that person is not going where they're trying to go, or they're
yeah,
not trying to even elevate their lives, or not necessarily do what they're
yeah.
doing, but they're not trying to do anything. But they
Anything.
still have such a struggle with, well, how do I
Being
end
uncomfortable.
this
Yeah,
relationship? How do I?
yeah.
Because it's a comfortable space that they can always retreat back to. Talk to them. Sound went back out. Okay, we're back.
So what's happening is, and I'm sorry to the listeners, but let me explain to you what's happening. And I think I'm explaining this because it's good for the conversation that we're actually having. So my mentor, Rebecca Garrett, she encouraged us to do energy checks. So every 2 hours, my alarm goes off and it says energy check, and that's to basically check and see if I'm still upbeat, if I'm still positive, if I'm still in a good mental space, so that I can continue to you know, um, manifest the God life, the heaven on earth through, the energy that I believe that God has given us. So that's what's going on with my phone. It's a reminder to me, okay, are you still in a good headspace? Do you need to go play some upbeat music? Do you need to go pray? Do you need to go meditate? You know what I'm saying? So that's what's going on with my phone, my sound. But just elaborating on being uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, all I can say is one thing comes to mind, and I'm gonna pull these thoughts together. One thing comes to mind. I have another millionaire mentor, um, June Acosta. He said a lot of people think that we have friends until you try to build a business, until you try to do something that's more positive in your life that outgrows them or outgrows where you are. You'll see where your friendships lie. And then it says realistically your reality can be anything that you want it to be. So with being uncomfortable, if you have a vision, let's say you want to open a business, you want to open a daycare, you want to write a book, you want to do anything, you have to make the decision in your mind to pursue that vision and then be committed to that vision. That means if you've got to sacrifice the weekends, if you've got to sacrifice a family dinner or so, and I believe family is important, so I'm not saying like, you're going all in and just,
Neglecting.
dismissing, like, yeah, I'm not saying that, but you have to be willing to, in becoming uncomfortable, what that means is you got to do something new. So for me, I knew. So I was working on one of my secular books at the time, and Thursday nights were my Shonda Rhimes nights. I love Shonda Rhimes. I love Grey's Anatomy. I'm when I say I put the kids in the tub early, I cook early, like, cause come 8 o'clock, I don't I
It's
don't want to
over.
see y'all. I don't want to. I'm not mama. I'm just being entertained at this moment, and that was for hours. And it's like something clicked in me when I started, because I was still full-time working. So of course I'm working 7 to 3. Then I have my kids, and then all I had was my evening. And I told them, I said, you know what? Shonda Rhimes got her money, and she good at what she do. I said, and I think that with the talent that God has given me, I'm just as good. So instead of watching Shonda Rhimes, I'm gonna be working on my book. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, um, which is the only really time that I have to work on my dreams, that's what I'm gonna be doing. So these Friday hangouts, I'm sorry, because we get together, we start drinking. I can't focus like that. You know what I'm saying? I got to focus. So being uncomfortable means you got to do something that you weren't doing before, and it may not feel good. Like right now, I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm on a journey of healing, my body physically. I'm going more to an alkaline based diet. I love bread. I love chicken. I love like pecan pie. But it's uncomfortable. Right. This weight is uncomfortable. The symptoms that I'm having in my body is uncomfortable. And I know that I know that if I want to live, if I want to see the next 50 years, and be healthy, I got to change some stuff. It's uncomfortable. But either you're going to do it or you're not. And if you're not going to do it, then you need to really just accept the life that you're choosing. And if you are going to do it and the people around you are not supporting you, you've got to get uncomfortable and just make that change and say, okay, I love y'all, but I got to kind of, and I'm not saying you got to dismiss from them 100%, but you got to make enough change to where you see the change, if that makes sense.
That does.
It's something that anything that you've been doing for a long time and now it's time for you to do something else, it's going to be uncomfortable. So I think for the most part, if my advice would be get over it, it's going to be uncomfortable. Just go ahead and fix your mind to say, okay, this might hurt. This might, this, I don't know what this is going to feel like. And just know that you're going to be okay.
So as far as moving forward, let's say I'm the type of person I'm speaking for, maybe somebody who's watching, and they say, okay, I'm okay with being uncomfortable, but I'm concerned about the other person or the other people. What would they think? How would they look at me? Will they feel betrayed? Will they be hurt? What does Zoe say?
I say communicate. Good. Communicate. I think the most problems with us in relationships, not I think, I know, is communicate. When I kind of, moved myself from, the crowd that I was hanging with, I told them, I'm like, well, I'm working on a project, I'm working on a business. I started building another business at that time also. I'm working on, a business, and I'm just kind of more focused right now. And I don't know if they took offense to that, but I was real, I was real with myself and I was real with them. And if they did take offense to that, it was not communicated to me. I saw it in their actions. Um, things got weird and I took offense to that. And what I did was, it was nice while it lasted,
Well, that's good.
And the thing about it is, if I could say this, be unattached from people. Be unattached from people, because we grow, we learn, we change. Just be unattached. Love people enough to be there for them, for whatever season or however long, but be unattached. Be unattached to the praise, be unattached to the disappointments of them. Be unattached, and ultimately, if they're really down for you, you guys should have a relationship where you can communicate. And you can even, I would have loved if, one of them would have came up and said, okay, well, we know that, you're focused on this. So instead of getting together and having an event session, how can we, come together and help you, write? You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, you got a business meeting tonight. Okay, well, how about this? So we're going to come to the business meeting for support. And then after the business meeting, then we can hang out. Right. I got none of that, so it was just, and we had good relationships. We had good times. Like, I'm not going to, we shared a lot. We were very transparent, and a lot of stuff I never heard come back to me, and that's very rare when you're dealing with a group of people. So I
Mm.
trusted them with a lot of my personal relationships, a lot of my personal business, and a lot of that stuff. I still, and it's been years, I still haven't heard any of that come back to me. So I respect those people and I love those people. But you know, I just knew we weren't growing together.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how do you know if you do, whether you do or not? How do you know in the future whether or not maybe those relationships can be mended? Maybe you can come back together. Is there a mending after, let's say, what you just described? I have to take some time to do this. They acted awkward. Things kind of went sour, or even if they didn't go sour, they kind of died down to a point. Is there a time when you kind of come back together, or and how do you know? How do you know? Because I think, and I'm gonna let you answer, but I think a lot of people mistakenly look at friendships as or relationships as all of them have to come back and we have to just stay together. We have to stay tight. They don't know that some things are okay. We can be cool now, and this is only a seasonal thing, and or people get it mixed up. So tell me your opinion on that.
So for me, I'm a forgiving person.
Okay.
Um, and I can move past a lot of stuff. I've forgiven some things that, people be like, girl, you crazy.
With or
Um,
without mending the relationship, forgiven with or without mending.
with or
Because
without
a
mending
lot
the
of people think you have to forgive and go back. That's
no,
a they think it's
no,
together, but no.
no. I've forgiven and have mended. Like, one of my friends I've been with, like, we've been friends since high school, and I respect her to a T. We still don't talk. I'm looking forward to visiting her very soon. Um, but we still don't talk often. And we had a moment, because some things had transpired in my life, and she didn't know about it. And so I guess, to her, she should have known. To me, I was like, I'm okay. If I needed you, I would have called you. I'm okay. So whatever it was, and it was some other little things that happened in between. It caused some friction, and we sat down and we communicated for hours. I think I may have cried, and I don't cry too fast. Um, but we mended that, and apologies were given, and even though we're not going in the same direction, I share with her my life. She shares with her life, and we're cool. Like, she's a sister to me. Like, my bestie. Um, with the other group, I can't say if it will ever be. I would say that communication is everything. I do. I have conversation with one or two of them. I've had conversation with them, but will it ever be the same? And I think sometimes people think that you have to, just because you mend the relationship, things have to go back to being the same,
Right.
and it doesn't. Because if I've grown to a point and my mindset is different and my conversation is different, it's okay to say, we just don't vibe like that. I want to talk about digital assets. I want to talk about buying blocks. I want to talk about buying hotels and transform into, homeless shelters. I want to talk about nonprofits. I want to talk, you know what I'm saying? Like, my conversation has changed. I want to talk about, hosting events for the youth. And if you're still talking about your baby daddy or your baby mama, and, who didn't do this and like, you don't
Empty
have to
conversation.
mend every relationship just to, or you don't have to reconnect every relationship just to be at peace. I'm at peace with it, and I'm at peace at knowing that if we come back around and we hang out, again, or whatever. And I think it would probably be a good idea, just to get together, just to catch up, but the thing is, now, if you left the relationship on salty terms and you're not willing to say, well, this offended me, or I took, this kind of hurt my feelings, I thought we were better than that. If you can't do that, then the issue is not the relationship, the issue is you.
You
you
right.
know so I just say, the way that you would know is, this is another quote. Now, I don't know where I heard it from, but this is another quote. um the way that a person treats you after a relationship tells you a whole lot about how they felt about you, how they value you. And with my friend, I felt like she valued our relationship, our friendship enough to say, okay, we're better than this, let's talk, and we did that. With, other people that I've disconnected from, there was no value in it to see if it was mendable. And so I had to be okay with that. Um, I still have no ill, and I do have conversation and things with, a few of them, but is if we're not growing, we're dying. That's my thing. Anything that's not growing is dying. And so you just have to know that you can mend the relationship, be on good terms, and still know that maybe we were just together for a season, you know, you know, and we had good times.
Right.
You know.
So, and I think this may be the last point. What about, or can you speak to the people or speak on the subject of getting over what could have been? Because we've all been in relationships, whether they were romantic or not, where you kind of, I don't want to say conjure up, but that's the best word I can think of, conjure up in your mind what could have been, where this could have gone. Or I thought we would have been friends for life. I thought we would have gotten married, things of that nature. What could have been? How in the world do people get over what could have been? And it's almost silly, but it's real. It's almost silly because it's not a real thing. It was a mind. It was in your mind, but it's very real. So go ahead.
It's very real. I opened the door to an ex of mine 2 times based on what could have been. And each time got worse than the last. Um, to the point where the last time only prayer broke that soul tie with him. And people praying for me. So my encouragement to those that are in that moment, well, let's see, and that's anxiety over your mind, because you're worried about something that you can't control, and you're overthinking situations that have happened. So I would say, from a logical standpoint, assess what has happened and start accepting and healing from that. And you may have to, hopefully, you're a person of prayer. You have to pray for that. I had one soul tie. I just pray. I said, Lord, I can't break myself from this man. I can't. I need you to do this because I know, like, he's toxic. He's detrimental. I know I'm probably going to end up dead, fooling with this man. And I cried out. I cried out in tears. I cried out praying. I literally cried out for hours. I went to sleep. My eyes were swollen. I mean, it was horrible. But from that, I could never look at him the same. It was literally a disconnect. And so I don't know how you, the audience, will find your peace and your healing, but you definitely will have to go through a healing from that detachment. And when you heal from that detachment, you'll be able to accept the past and not force anything in the future. Because 9 times out of 10, the way that the relationship happened is the way that it was meant to happen. I'll share another kind of quick testimony. We had, after that stretch of people or whatever, we had my husband and I, we got together. So this is fast forward a couple of years. We got together and we had a couple of people around us. We were working with, we were filming with, we were, doing a lot of, stuff with, and we in our heads were like, this is gonna be, this is gonna be, and everybody fell off one by one. And when I had my fire experience, what I call it, when I had my experience with the Holy Spirit, and he got me together, he showed me those people, and he told me that he removed those people from me for a reason. So I don't know what the beliefs are of the audience that are watching or listening, but I can speak for myself from experience that a lot of people that I thought would be with me for the long run, in business, in friendships, in that particular season, the Holy Spirit showed me I removed those people from you. I had to remove those people from you. So many times we don't see the demons operating through people, you know. And I'm telling you, I've had people like we've been so close for like 3-4 months and like super super close, and then it's like all of a sudden like they vanish, and I'm like, okay, let's move on, And I had to learn. I learned this with relationships, and I had to learn this with platonic relationships as well. You don't know what you may be being saved from by these relationships, these friendships ending the way that they do. So I find peace in that. Now, that little word rejection that you mentioned earlier, that plays a huge part in people's inabilities to disconnect from people that may be toxic from them. Because when you have a relationship or a friendship that has, it's like something has gone wrong, instead of really, a lot of times it's not that you're thinking about what y'all could be, you feel rejected. And sometimes you don't realize that rejection is really, as they say, your protection. So even those people, it was funny because they came back and, kind of did some shady stuff. And I just laughed like, okay, cool, And I'm always the type of person, like it was a couple of young ladies I went to apologize. I'm like, what did I do? Sat down and I'm like, well, okay, you took that way. That's not what I meant. I'm really big on mending relationships and communicating. But with those females, God was like, nope, I can't have them around you. And hey, and one recently I kind of got back in contact with, and just said, hey, hope all is well with you. We don't talk every day, we ain't hanging out, but I just want people to know I'm at peace with you, because I understand that whatever, and if it comes back, fine. If it comes back, I believe it'll be better than before, but I can't. You have to give your mind peace. The overthinking, well, we could have been and we could have and should have. No, you got to give your mind peace. And the scripture says, great peace have they that love thy law, and that, there's just peace. You just start claiming peace over that situation, because it could be that it was temporary. It could be that it may come back together. It could be that it's actually gone forever. You just got to find peace.
Find peace with whatever it is, whatever the outcome
with
is.
Whatever it is, peace. Whatever the outcome. Yeah.
So in our close, I want you to talk about one of the things that I do all the time is I like to analyze things. So I analyze myself and I analyze the people that are in my life, friends and everything. And so I'm even to the point where for years I've been doing this, and I will actually call people and be like, hey, was just doing a little analyzation of my friends, and you a little off, and I need you to do a little better. And so, do you do that? Do you have a process where I think you mentioned something about it earlier. Do you have a process that you analyze, you kind of, I don't know, do inventory on who's in your circle? Because a lot of times, we can carry baggage, and I don't want to say baggage because we're not calling people baggage, but we can carry heavy loads, and we don't realize, oh, we're carrying, and I don't know what this is, but then you realize this person that you talk to every day is the one that's putting the load on you, so you have to do inventory. And so, do you do what is your process with that? Do you have to do that?
At this point in my life, I I don't. Now I do have sisters in and out. We kind of hold each other accountable. I'm more of a big sister to a lot of people, so for me, I can say that I've checked people, but 9 times out of 10, it's been when they've come to me, like, okay, I'm off, and a lot of times, you can ask anybody if they bring me, I'll let them vent all day. I'll let them, tell me what's going on all day. But when I speak, it's a solution and it's life. Like, I'm not, because I have a ministry with wives. And so a lot of wives don't want to talk to me, because they're in their venting, they're cutting their husband with the sword of their words. And I had to tell one wife, I said, I'm not gonna dishonor your husband with you. You know, I can kind of give you, some what I would do type things, and I can pray with you, you know what I'm saying? But I can't talk like that, because I understand the commitment and the covenant relationship. So if people allow me to give them that type of checking or that type of accountability, I do. For me, as far as the people that I am close to, like really close to, I really don't have to. I will, but, and I think they know that, but I really don't have to. And for the most part, I can honestly say that in this season that I've kind of broken through from everybody and let a lot of people go, a lot of people that come to me in this season are like-minded. We want the same, our visions are the same, even if we're not doing the same thing. It's just we're linked, in purpose, like you were saying. And so I don't really have to take an inventory like that. And I've learned to, I think for me, I've just learned too not to even allow people to get close enough if they have that type of heaviness. If you have a heaviness that I can kind of see, unless I have to deal with you, like if you're family, then I'll tolerate you. But I'm even getting to the point now. I'm like, okay, I don't care if you're family, like you toxic. So let's talk about this. And if you don't want to talk about it, then
Right.
I love you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm even getting to that point because I think for so long we've like, okay, well that's just the way that they are. You just gotta kind of no, like you're draining my doggone energy. No, like what's wrong? You know what I'm saying? We need to meditate. We need to like what do we need to do? Let's sing, let's dance, let's do something. Cause no, and I just no. So did I answer that? Cause
You did.
I think I just okay.
in your own way.
I think something just hit right there. I'm like, no, like let's stop accepting toxicity. Let's get people like and hold them accountable. For their actions and for their because and some people are so used to being heavy that they don't even realize it. So you gotta be if you're light. And I think the worst thing that we could do is dismiss people because of how they are. I always want to make sure that I bring life and I bring positivity and then I address them because maybe they don't know,
Right.
and I think that as a culture, we've got to embrace each other enough to say, okay, look, the way that you said that was really, it wasn't right, but we got to learn how to communicate, so all that goes back to communication as well. So. Yeah.
Well, I think this has been great. You seem like you got it together a little bit, so looks like we got the right one.
Look, I hope. I hope. I just, it's like this. Once you get a taste of peace, once you get a taste of drama free. Look, I was in relationships for years, like, and had drama after drama after drama. And it's like, when God put my husband in my life and, things changed and life just became like a sunflower. So it's like, I value that. So.
Right.
I'm not, I can't risk that anymore. I've had enough. And I think ultimately too, people have to get to the point where they say, okay, I don't want this anymore. And I think some people feel like we have to have drama. We have to, no, like you have to have vent sessions. No, why can't we have praise sessions? Why can't we have affirmation sessions where we're, what I'm saying, speaking life and vision boards and, different stuff like that. Like, no, you just, no. So I gotta protect my peace.
Right. This has been great. So thank you so much, Zoë Davis.
You're welcome. You're welcome.